Hi, everybody. It's Professor Mitchell. We are continuing with Chapter 6 on ratio, proportion, and percent. And today we're talking about solving percent problems with equations. The objectives in this section are to write percent problems as equations and then solve percent problems. Recognizing key words in a percent problem is helpful in writing the problem as an equation. Three key words, there's a little typo, in the statement of percent problems and their meanings are as follows. Whenever you see the word of, that means multiply. Whenever you see the word is, that means equals. And whenever you see the what or some version of what, that means the unknown number. So you put a variable there. All right, for example, if we wanted to translate 15 is what percent of 20 to an equation, we would turn is into equals. We would turn what percent into n or some other variable, and we would turn of into times. So as an equation, this statement reads 15 equals n times 20. Next example, translate 2 4/10 is 25% of what number? So you see a lot of those or all of those same keywords. Is turns into equals, 25% is 25%, of is times, and what number turns into the variables. So sometimes it's just the word what, sometimes it's what number, any version of that. All right, next example. This would be a good one for you to try if you want to pause the video. What number is 50% of 6/10? So we'll turn what number into n, turn is into equals, turn of into times. So as an equation that reads n equals 50% times 6/10. Okay. So now we'll work on solving these equations. The equations have the form percent times base equals amount. I don't personally think it's too important to remember that equation. If you just translate the words like you saw in the previous examples, this will sort of happen automatically. Okay, so now they want us to set up this equation and then solve it. So what number is 45% of 80? So just like in the previous examples, we'll turn what number into n, is into equals, of into times. So now we want to solve this equation. Before you solve an equation that has a percent in it, you want to convert that percent into either a fraction or a decimal, and you might find that a decimal is easier. So as now it says n equals 45 hundredths times 80. You just do that multiplication, and you find that n is 36. So the number that is 45% of 80 is 36. 45% of 80 is 36. Okay, next we have 65% of 90 is what number? Very, very similar. Turn of into times, turn is into equals, and what number in. Convert 65% into a decimal, 65 hundredths, and then do the multiplication. 65 hundredths times 90 is 58 5/10. So 65% of 90 is 58 5/10. All right, this one's a little different. So in this equation, the percent is the unknown. What percent of 35 is 21? All right, what percent? We'll turn that into n. Of becomes times, is becomes equals. So we have n times 35 equals 21. To solve that equation, we will divide both sides. So let me just show a little bit more work here. We're dividing both sides by 35. There we go. It's a little sloppy there. Hopefully you can follow that. And of course, cancel. So that leaves me with n equals 21 over 35. Now, because it says what percent, we need to convert this fraction to a percent. And the way that they did that was they first converted it to a decimal, the way we talked about in chapter 5. Divide 35 into 21. That gives you 6/10. To change that into a percentage, you multiply it by 100%. 6/10 times 100% is 60%. So this is definitely something you can use in your real life whenever you take a test or a quiz in any class. And if the total number of points is not 100, maybe it's 35 points, and you get 21 points out of 35, you want to make that into a percentage. This is how you do it. And that's the end of 6-3.